Celtic are a club who've won 13 of the last 14 Scottish League titles. Their dominance has been unparalleled in modern times. And the reason they've done that is because they've been quite sure-footed. They've been a reasonably well-run football club. And to lose that advantage, Gordon, I think they had to really take their eye off the ball. They had to make some pretty awful decisions, and it just so happens that they've done that in a fairly short order. I think if you look at bringing in Paul Tisdale as head of football operations, he oversaw a pretty disastrous transfer window in the summer. That led to an acrimonious fallout with Brendan Rodgers, where he left. They managed to steady the ship slightly with Martin O'Neill, and I think supporters would have been happy if Martin O'Neill had stayed on. But unfortunately, they decided to go with Wilfred Nancy, and it's unusual because for such a kind of risk-averse and cautious Conservative board of directors, they took a huge risk, and it's backfiring and blowing up in their face.
He appears to have their backing for now. How long does that last, and can he pull it back from here, given the scenes we saw at Tannadice, the fan feeling and so on during the week?
I think it's a how long is a piece of string question, how long can he sustain it? I mean, no Celtic manager in history has ever lost their first 4 games. You have to go back to 1978 to find the last time any Celtic manager lost 4 games in a row. So he's in pretty dangerous territory. I think to pull it back, he would have to go on a pretty sustained run of convincing wins. Now, that's happened before. I mean, Ange Postecoglou lost 3 of his first 6, and he then went a long unbeaten run. But he recruited well. And at the moment, I think what he had to do, Nancy, with a fairly limited squad, was just manage it, get through to January, make some acquisitions. What he actually did was he took a sledgehammer to the team. And I think that now looks like it's all beginning to go the wrong way.
And is this where, if there is any sympathy to be had towards Wilfred Nancy, is this squad in its current form capable of a long, sustained winning run?
I think that's an important point. He's not responsible for the signings for the recruitment that preceded his arrival. I think that really falls to others, including, as I said, the head of football operations, who up to now has really managed to avoid scrutiny and too many questions, hasn't put himself in the front line or in the media. I think people are asking questions now, not just of Wilfred Nancy. I think of the board of directors, obviously. There's a sustained campaign by supporters, the Celtic Fans Collective. I think there's questions of Paul Tisdale. I think there's questions of the Chief Executive, Michael Nicholson, and of course of Nancy himself. It just looks as if Celtic have really taken an eye off the ball.
It loosely reminds me of the Russell Martin scenario at Rangers earlier in the season, where it was just constant negativity and it almost went week to week. Michael Nicholson spoke to Celtic's in-house media, backed the manager. We all understand he has their backing. Could he survive a defeat against Aberdeen at the weekend?
I think it'd be really difficult. I think Michael Nicholson backed himself into a bit of a corner, because before the game against Dundee United in midweek, he came out on the club TV channel and he said that he was giving Wilfred Nancy effectively a vote of confidence. So I think from then on, Celtic are duty bound to try and back their man. I think the concern is that if you look at the January window coming up, yes, they can try and make signings, but the people who oversaw some pretty poor transfer windows before are still there. They're still in the building. Can supporters have any faith that it's going to improve this time? I don't know if they can.
How significant is this weekend? Not only Celtic in isolation, but Hearts play Rangers. There's a number of permutations there, of course, where Rangers could go level with Celtic. Celtic fans, safe to say, would not welcome that at this moment in time.
Well, you mentioned Russell Martin. Given the start to the season Rangers made under Russell Martin, I think if Rangers were to somehow find a way to draw level or even overtake Celtic, and we're heading pretty close to an Old Firm game here, of course, I think that would be a pretty serious position for Celtic to be in. I think in terms of the reaction of supporters, it would be unacceptable. And in their eyes, and I think they would have a fair okay.